Welcome to Suddenly Different, where we explore stories and strategies for life when it doesn't go to plan. I'm Leigh-Anne, inviting you to join me on this journey. We rely on our memories so much more than remembering names, appointments, and where we left our keys. Memory holds our stories, our relationships, our sense of where we've been, and in many ways, who we are. And most of us trust it without ever thinking that one day that trust may change. My guest today, Jane Turner, has spent much of her life working with words and memories. As an author, publisher, and book writing coach, she helps people reach inside themselves, find the stories and ideas they've been carrying, and give those stories a permanent home on the page. Then Jane began noticing small changes in herself. They were the kinds of things many of us might dismiss as busyness, stress, aging, or simply having too much to think about. But when Jane came across information about Alzheimer's clinical trial, something inside her told her not to scroll past. She listened. That decision led to testing, further investigation, and a diagnosis that changed the future she thought she was moving towards. But this conversation isn't simply about Alzheimer's. It's about Jane. It's about what it feels like to receive a diagnosis without allowing it to take ownership of your identity. It's about trusting yourself when something does not feel right, continuing to live while the future feels uncertain, and remembering that a person is always so much more than what they may one day forget. Jane is still writing, still working, still laughing, and still loving, still making choices about the life that is hers. Jane, thank you for trusting me enough to have this conversation. So before we talk about the diagnosis, I'd love people to meet you. So who is Jane Turner, and what would you most want us to understand about the woman sitting here today?
Oh, well, look, what can I just say though, Leigh-Anne? What a beautiful introduction and what a lovely question to ask. Look, I think what I would like people to, know about me is that I am a person who's alive and well in spite of a fairly devastating diagnosis. And the fact of the matter is, I guess one of the things that I have learned in the process of being diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease is that I am the same person I was pre-diagnosis. And, that goes without saying, but I feel like it needs to be said. And the thing about it also is that a diagnosis is a powerful thing to have. It can be disempowering in the first instance. I remember, going blank, basically, when I found this out and going through, of course, all of the emotions. But at the end of the day, I'm incredibly grateful to know what's going on with me and to be able to manage that state and realize that, in fact, the old saying, it's an ill wind that does no good, has proven to be absolutely true for me. So I don't pride myself or, whatever words you might want to use about being, I'm a glass half full person, not a glass half empty, any of those kind of things. I'm a person living on a day-to-day basis, just like everybody else is. And I have a structure in place now to live the best life that I possibly can. And in many ways, I had a wake-up call. And wake-up calls can be incredibly helpful. So that may not have actually answered your question about who is Jane Turner and what do I want people to know about, but I'm the person in front of you, basically. Yeah. I'm not so different to anybody else, really.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I understand a little bit about the similarities of our challenges. I know that due to the impact of my body's response to the COVID vaccination, I have cognitive issues. I have memory issues. I have I think the technical term is aphasia, which is word finding issues, and most of those are worse when I'm either under pressure or I'm tired. So the power I have is to manage myself the best I can, right? So manage my time, manage my energy, be gentle rather than critical of myself. And like, you know, my grandfather had Alzheimer's. So, and different people around me have had different diseases. So I was frightened when because with the COVID vaccine injury, there was no textbook diagnosis method for me. So mine was all about elimination. They had to eliminate all of the possible things it could be before they could say that it was vaccine right? So they had to say, well, you haven't got any demyelination of in your brain, so it's not MS. Right? But it looked like MS, right? And because of the memory, it's like, well, is it Alzheimer's? No. The things that happen chemically aren't happening to you, so it's not Alzheimer's, right? But I'm curious, because it sounds to me as though you're really aware of when you have been and are really aware of your patterns, your behaviors, your coping strategies. And so you noticed that you weren't, before you got diagnosed, you noticed that you weren't the same you.
A number of things were going on. For example, I had a couple of falls.
Right.
Now, what is it that manages our balance, though? It's the brain. So I had a couple of falls, and they were treated as, I stumbled, I'm older, I did have some breaks from them, broken bones, I should say, not breaks from having falls, but, I had a couple of falls and I had some broken bones. But, firstly, that was, bad luck, type of thing. Then I had a bit of a heart glitch.
Right.
So that was treated as a heart glitch.
Yeah.
Then I saw the clinical trials being advertised, and, it was an interesting thing because I just felt called.
Yeah.
And it's an inner knowing, I suppose. Yep. It's an inner knowing. Yep. And from that point, of course, then the ball was rolling. Now, what is so interesting is my diagnosis was about a year ago now. Back in 2020, and I should give the context here. The context here is that I'm having some help organising my space. That being organised, knowing where things are really matters now. And my wardrobe. Boy, was that a big job. So I had some help with that.
Yeah.
Among other things, I seem to have over the years had some kind of a fetish for notebooks. Never noticed it myself, but when we unpacked some of the areas of my wardrobe, and that's a whole there's a whole book in that wardrobe, you know.
Yep.
However, I won't be writing that book in the short term. But
Yep.
the thing is, these notebooks, and some of them only had a couple of pages written into, so I don't know if then I forgot I'd bought that one, so I got another one. Some had a lot and they were ready really to be thrown out. Others just had little bits. So I would be tearing the pages out, just noting what was on the pages. Was it something important? Now, listen to this. 2020 was, you know, it was March 2020 was the date on this page. I was supplementing the money I was earning with my writing business through doing some recruitment work for the public service, as it turned out. And I remember it so well now. It was quite a big job. It was like a 3.5-day job, massive recruitment for the SES. And on this page is written, "Oh my God, I'm only 2 days in. I can barely read my notes. I've got another day and a half. I don't think I'm capable of this work anymore."
Right.
And you know what? I put that down to at the time. I can't actually remember, but I must have put that down to tiredness, overwork, too much stress, not getting enough sleep. I would have written it down. Nowhere in the world would I have thought it had anything to do with Alzheimer's or dementia. But that's exactly what it was. Now, I could have had a 5-year start on this if I'd have been aware. And why I am talking on podcasts like this and I speak publicly. I was, very public on the ABC News a couple of weeks ago about this, because as much as initially I went into denial, there was shame. There were all these weird emotions, all of those kind of things going on. But when I found out that Alzheimer's was the number one killer of women in Australia, a light went on for me and I thought, well, that's not okay. If I'd have been told to check my brain half as much as I'd been told to check my breasts over the years, I could have picked that up in 2020, if not before, possibly. And the earlier we catch these things, of course, the more we can do to, if not stop the progress, certainly slow it down. So that's why I'm, out and proud and talking about this, and also out and proud and talking about it because it is still me.
Yes.
I've written 2 books of my own since being diagnosed, and I'm coaching people. And a really interesting thing also, Leigh, is that when I decided to say yes to the ABC and be interviewed by them, I remember thinking to myself, well, I'm probably killing my business. And the assumption I had in the back of my mind is, who would want to sign up to work with a person with Alzheimer's to get their book written and published? But you know what happened on that very day? I had 3 new clients turn up because they'd seen me on the television. And I guess they'd thought, oh, she's a really interesting person. I'll be in touch. They didn't have the value judgment that I assumed, and that I guess in the past I must have had unconsciously. I must have thought somehow people with these kind of neurodegenerative problems have something wrong with them.
Yes.
Now, isn't language, I'm a person who works with words, and isn't language an interesting thing, hey?
Yeah, well, it is. I mean, because we do. We look at neurodiversity and we all have a bias about it at some level, right? So we've got a bias scale against the neurodiversity scale. And we've, we think the assumption is that as you get older, you get more feeble, you get more fumbly, you get silly. I know my kids used to call my mum crazy grandma because she just didn't make sense. But we didn't realize she'd had a stroke that she didn't know about, and she'd had brain damage, right? So, I think when we look at how much attention is medically put on to people, but women specifically, about about what's happening to them hormonally and what, like everything is blamed. I mean, nowadays there's a huge uplift in information about perimenopause and menopause. I know that it was, even when I went through it early, it was, I just took HRT because I had to suppress all of the symptoms that I was experiencing, right?
Yeah.
And so, but, we things are attributed to known things. So you don't think you've got Alzheimer's or dementia until you're well in your 60s or 70s, right? There's certain ages where it's normal to have, it's not shocking, it's part of life, and I think that, as you've said, imagine if we measured our brain capacity or our, certain elements to be able to track whether there was plaque building or whatever it is that causes Alzheimer's, just as much as we go and have our breasts stuck in these sandwich toaster things. Maybe, I mean, actually, I'd like the test for Alzheimer's to be far more pleasant than the mammogram. But, because really it's interesting from a government cost expenditure point of view. They've invested in cancer, right? Research and cancer management, because cancer was the number one, killer, and then heart disease, and now, with brain issues. It'll be interesting to see what happens in the next few years about that preparation and the medication that can help, or I'm again not aware of what the options are for managing the condition. Versus slowing the condition.
Yeah. Well, there are the I guess you would say sensible things, but the sensible things that become really critical when something like this comes. And those are things like sleep.
Yep.
And, of course, eating well and eating healthy fats in particular. The brain needs fats. Yep. No more skim milk for me. Thank you very much. Now, if I'd have known, that would have been great. I could have been drinking real milk all the time when I've been feeling like I'm doing the right thing on skim milk. But anyway, we don't have regrets. I'm sharing the news now so that more people can know about this. But of course, it's the what you eat. It's the sleeping. It's the managing your stress. It's the doing the kind of exercise that gets the heart rate up so that you've got nice levels of oxygen being pumped through the veins up to the head, of course, up to your brain.
Yeah.
All these things that are easy enough to do. And I guess this goes for all of those kind of things we're talking about, all of the, things that we can get. I guess the healthier we can stay, the better.
Yes.
But then it's also that piece about just the awareness, the awareness of, how are we going? Don't just write everything off to stress. Don't assume that there's nothing we can do about things like this, because there absolutely is. And one of the stranger things that people hear me say and question me, say, can you say that again? Or what did you just say? I say, strangely enough now, the quality of my life has never been better. Now, I say that because, and I actually have a book to attest for this. It's called Things to Worry About. I know it comes out in the opposite because it's on the
Yeah,
screen.
no, I love it. The things to
worry
worry about.
What you may love even more
Yeah.
is that every page is blank.
Oh, I love it.
That's my message, because here was I think I'd sort of come to terms with the diagnosis. And because I'm very much of a laptop, I could be at the laptop for a long time without realizing I've not gotten out and gotten sunshine or what have you. So I would very deliberately set my alarm so that I'd go for my big walks around. Sydney Park is my place. It's very close to where I live. So my Sydney Park walks, and quite often if it's a beautiful day, and especially if it might be school holidays, or even if it's not school holidays, if there's some kids running around and there's some dogs playing and you've got your coffee cart there. So I might get a cup of coffee and I'll sit down and I'll just have it's a beautiful environment to be in. Well, there was one particular day where I had done just that, and I'm there with my coffee, and I don't know at what stage I noticed the state that I was in. It could have been, I'd been perhaps 2 seconds, could have been 2 minutes, could have been 2 weeks for all I knew, because I was in a timeless state and I was just transfixed on the grass. And when I sort of shook out of it, I won't say snapped out of it, but it was kind of like there was then the brain kind of kicked in, and I thought, what was that beautiful feeling? And the only word that came to mind was presence. Now, Leigh-Anne, it's taken me 63 years and an Alzheimer's diagnosis to find that state.
Yeah.
If I knew about that state when I was in my, let's say, 30s, I probably wasn't in my 20s. I was too busy drinking to even notice.
Yes.
But let's say in my 30s, when I was earning really, really good money as well, I'd have paid hundreds of thousands of dollars for that state. Had access to that state. So that's what that book is about, because what I recognized was that I had inherited the worry gene from my beautiful father. Many years dead now, but looking back on it, I never thought about it at the time, but looking back on it, that man's face was etched with worry. I can tell now, and I know what it's like, because I now recognize that was me. I inherited from him what I call the worry gene, because there was always something playing out in the back of my mind. And it was never what a beautiful day it is, or how lovely would it be just to sit back and maybe not do any work today. As business people, we can moderate our own work levels, but not me. I worked like crazy once I started my business, because I suppose it's helpful maybe for people to know that my entire background was spent in the Australian public service up to the age of 52. So I had secure employment. When I started my business, it was not secure by any means. Of course, again, these words, we think they mean something, but we make them mean something. And for me, running a business is not a secure thing to do. And yet, nevertheless, I found work that I loved. So I was never going to go back to the 9 to 5. However, the amount of worrying I did rose exponentially. But when we're talking about worry, I'm talking about everything like, am I going to find a car park when I've gone out to do the shopping, or the price of bloody bananas, or something you can't do anything about, those kind of things. Or what if my daughter gets run over? Or what if this, or what, and they're not sort of necessarily clear or conscious in any way, but that's what worries are doing. If you are a compulsive worrier, as I clearly was, that's hell on earth. So that's whatever part of my brain that has been degraded so far, and this is a degenerative illness. I'm fully aware of what I'm dealing with here, but whatever's gone took the worry gene with it.
Good.
And that's things that are gone is I've got to be very, very careful balance-wise.
Yeah.
That part of the brain has been degraded, the balance-wise. Yeah, parts of my memory are definitely degraded, and all of the, things I'm dealing with, all of that, and it's all dealable with. But as I say, the quality of my life has never been better because I don't have that awful voice in the back of my head always going doom, 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 doom. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, that it is so wonderful to see it that way, to be present enough to notice that actually there are some things I have to do to help manage myself, right? And I definitely have to do that, and I can still mess up, right?
Yeah, indeed.
I can have things in my calendar and I can still mess up, but I do procedurally what I can, which is, you can do. And that's why you can continue to be the publisher and the book coach and everything, because procedurally you've got processes.
I've got processes, and of course I've got my experts. I've got my cover designer. I've got my layout artist. And of course they've then taken off some of the, what one has taken off, the more fiddly pieces, the ISBN numbers and barcodes that books need, the making sure that the correct ISBN number and barcode goes to the correct book. That's where I would feel somewhat vulnerable. When it comes to editing. This is really strange though. My editing skills have never been sharper.
Wow.
And why is that? It's because I've learned and I've had to learn the ability to focus.
Yep.
And that's a very, very powerful thing. But when I look back on how much I've done without this kind of awareness and that kind of focus, I just think, it's pretty amazing, actually. No wonder you worked goddamn 12-hour days, 7 days a week kind of thing. But who wants to do that? Who wants to live like that?
No.
It's, so it's kind of not to be Pollyanna-ish about this, but it's been actually quite a gift, the diagnosis.
And, I look at my condition and I know, so I've been off work now since February 2022, so 4.5 years. And I've only been podcasting for a year. Prior to that, in those middle years, I wasn't doing anything that was an external expression of me, but busy recovering. But living life to the fullest and making the most out, we are individually far more than what our output is or what society sees as our report card.
It's nicely
right?
put. Yeah.
And if we're able to notice that, so if we're able to have the assistance medically that we need to have, the information about diet and exercise that is safe and right for us, the patience and objectivity of the people around us. So I'm sure that your family and friends and medical personnel are all objectively observing what's going on so that you don't have to be the one noticing because you may not notice.
Well, that's it. Exactly. We just go along and we're living our life. And sometimes we notice, but yes, oftentimes we really don't.
And it's important when we do notice not to beat ourselves up.
Or go into a denial.
Yes.
So there's that sort of a balancing type of thing too, isn't it? Yeah.
So have you gone through like a grieving process with having?
Yes.
Yeah. So
yes.
you've
that was early on in the piece.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was the whole thing, the denial, disbelief,
Yep.
the
Anger.
absolute sort of, what's even the word I'm looking for? Disgust, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, my D words are coming out now, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, just disgust,
Yeah.
really,
Yeah.
really deep, but sort of visceral feelings of,
Yeah.
that I guess it's all part of the human condition, isn't it? It's all part of the way of moving through and moving on. But
Yes.
I think that the question of the people around us too is a very important one, because they can be really grounding,
Yes.
and we sometimes make assumptions about other people, and sometimes it's reflecting our own feelings and beliefs, and we're projecting, I think is the word, isn't it? But
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was interviewed by ABC News a few weeks ago, and I remember making that decision to say yes to that opportunity on the basis of the fact that when I found out that Alzheimer's was the number one killer of women in Australia, I just thought, yep, I have to do whatever I can to spread that information so that people are aware and will keep an eye on themselves. But anyway, there I was interviewed, and I remember that decision about saying yes. I remember thinking, I'm probably killing my business if I do this.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was so completely wrong. It's not funny. Off the back of having seen me on television, I have 3 new clients.
Yeah. And
Those
isn't that
people.
beautiful?
And I thought, well, what was I assuming about people, that they're going to be thinking I'm defective or unreliable or all these things that in the back of my mind, I must have had that sense that is what dementia and Alzheimer's means. Some weird, wonky, unexpressed beliefs that we pick up over time. It's just a fascinating thing. It really is, that to look back on yourself and people say you're going to write a book about this, and I had said, oh look, I suppose I probably will, but actually I think what I'm going to do is make a video about it.
Yeah.
That's just just feels so much more human, if you like, for want of better words. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
So what helps you feel genuinely supported, right? So not sugar-coated, not, but really, like, is there...
What a great question. What a great question. I mean, I suppose it's sort of obvious, but that my daughter's now in her mid-20s, that she comes around to visit 2 to 3 times a week.
Yeah.
I think that, to me, is what support feels like.
Yeah.
She says she's coming to hang.
Yeah. Yeah.
As in hang out, which we do. We just hang out and talk, but that's it. And the friends who just check in from time to time and, have a coffee and and I don't know if I told you I was at the doctor's just before.
Yeah.
So that's my GP. And she genuinely, the amount of time that she puts into just explaining to me and listening to me, I think it's when someone's really listening to what you say, as opposed to already having all the answers.
Yeah.
That's what may be a strange use of the word support, but I think that's what support feels like.
Well, because it is when you feel held, right?
Held,
so
yes.
when your answers matter, it doesn't matter whether you've said them before and you're saying them again. It doesn't matter when your answers are received openly and without judgment.
Mm.
And it sounds like you've got multiple places where you have that. So you don't have to put that worry hat back on, put that
That's
worry
right.
face back on. You
Yes.
don't have to do that.
Yes.
You
Yes.
can just be and be present and enjoy what you're doing you're focusing on the editing and your clients. And like, I know I don't remember, I've had to work out a new way of finding memories in my mind. It's like I visualize myself in this little car driving around this detoured road to find the answer because I know the answer's there. So I have the knowing that the name is there. I don't have the knowing of what the right name is.
Yeah.
But I know that I've got a knowing. So I'm like in this car and I just drive around my brain from one neuro pathway to another to try to find the answer. And sometimes I find an answer and I feel that it's right, or sometimes I think that it's probably right. I can remember when Maverick came out, right?
Yes.
Top Gun, right?
Yes.
So I was lying on the banks of the Yarra with a friend and I was sending a text to another friend who was going to a preview of Top Gun Maverick. And I sent her a message, have fun with Tom. And then I looked at the message and I thought, oh, is his name Tom? Is his name Tom? Oh, I don't know that his name's Tom. If his name's Tom, what could his surname be? Oh, so
that's what I'm thinking now. That's right, Tom. What's his surname?
And it's like, and like, oh, okay. So I went, is he Tom Hanks? And the image of Tom Hanks talking to a basketball in whatever that movie was. And I'm thinking, no, it's not Tom Hanks. And then I'm thinking, oh, I think it's Tom. And then I remembered this redhead, this tall redhead. And it's like, well, who's she?
Nicole Kidman. Yes.
She was married to him. So, and then I found Tom Cruise and I still wasn't fully sure.
Yeah, right.
But I can remember. And I can remember that episode and thinking, wow. But I got out of that process, a process that I could use, that I had trust that somewhere in my brain, the information lived. It wasn't gone. And that gave me hope. Because before that, I thought that it was like deleted, permanently deleted.
Yeah.
But instead, I found that it just wasn't accessible as quickly and through the same route. Right?
Yes.
And so, and I'm sure that you will have different ways of being able to find that association and then, and then have reminders on your desk or.
Well, exactly.
Create new memories that are closer to the surface.
Well, interestingly, when I was going up to the doctors this morning, and I've been going to the same doctors for the last 30 years.
Yeah.
And it's a walkable distance from where I live. 3/4 of the way there, I looked because I thought I was there.
Yeah.
And it was this side of the petrol station. And I thought, well, I've gone past it. And I went back. Have I gone past it? I went back a little bit. And then my brain went, no, it's the other side of the petrol station.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a part of my brain.
Mm-hmm.
So my question for myself now is, what if that, and here's my answer that comes to this is, what if that part of the brain didn't then kick back in about, if it's not this side of the petrol station, then it has to be the other side of the petrol station, basically, was how I then found it. I go, oh yeah, of course, there it is. I suppose then maybe there would have been a part of my brain that would ask the person who runs the coffee shop that I was standing outside of, do you know where the Erskineville doctors are? And that way I would have. So there are different ways to get, to where you want to be, but it's the brain working its different ways.
Yes.
And, ultimately we see people who become nonverbal and really essentially don't know where they are. And that's a long ways off from me. Yeah. But I'm sort of conscious of, okay, these little things, if I can slow down by all of the good work I'm doing in terms of not only I have the meds and I'm doing my exercise and I'm much better sleeper than I ever was. It's still a work in progress, but when you can concentrate on something as important as that and change it, it makes a difference. But also I'm living in a time, I suppose there's never been a better time to have something like this because of all of the work that's going on at the moment. And, perhaps I'm on the back of a wave of being able to take advantage of some of that. In terms of slowing it down, I mean, once your amyloid plaques and what have you have destroyed part of the brain, well, that's gone, but there's the rest of it still. Yes. And, so it's an interesting playing field, put it that way.
Yes. Well, I mean, 12 months ago, I couldn't finish a sentence.
Oh, really, Leigh-Anne?
Right.
Okay.
So now, depending on my fatigue levels, depending on how well I've managed myself, I can be better. And, sometimes, today is my 1-year anniversary for releasing my first podcast.
Oh, fantastic. I'm on your birthday, your podcast birthday.
Yes.
Fantastic.
So it's fabulous. And for me, it's been acceptance. So accepting imperfection. Right? It's been curiosity.
Yes.
And it's been willingness. And it's a willingness to fail as much as a willingness to succeed.
Absolutely. And that's life.
Yeah. And so
the story of life, not just our situation, but it's true though, isn't it? That we expect so much
of ourselves.
Yes.
And we, as you said earlier about that inner bias that we already have, the judgment that we have of conditions and whatever, it's really important for us to look at those. So when we're healthy, so for our listeners who have got none of this happening to them, for them to look at themselves and have a look at their bias and have a look at where they are lacking knowledge about something, where they know 2 sentences about something like dementia or Alzheimer's or like epilepsy or, things like that. So anything, because for some reason, I don't know, I think I either missed a biology session or something, but I didn't, for some reason, I don't know whether I thought the head was in a separate container with the brain to the rest of the body. I've no idea, but I had, my father died of brain cancer. And when he was diagnosed, I'd known about other people having different cancers and I'd thought I'd known about them being careful with their diet, all right? And some people going into remission because of their diet, doing raw foods and whatever. But I looked at Dad, and apart from probably being too scared to suggest it to him, but I assumed that changing his diet wouldn't help him because it was his brain that was affected,
Got it.
not his body,
Yeah.
right?
Mm.
I didn't think about the fact it's the same blood and the same oxygen and the same nutrients and the same all of, right? But I just had this warped understanding of how the body and the brain work.
Yeah.
And
I don't think that's uncommon.
No, but and so we just assume that the only thing we can do with our brain is think better thoughts. Right?
Yes.
And so, so we'll sit down and we'll do them, we might do a meditation with the intention, not of calming the body, but of thinking better thoughts.
Yes.
And
it's a wake-up call, isn't it?
It is.
Really?
It is. So you said that instead of writing a book, you're thinking of doing a video.
Yes.
So are you thinking of doing like a documentary?
No, I think
a family.
will do. I have an Authors in Conversation series I do, a little bit similar to what you're doing here.
Yeah.
And I'll just really talk about it's actually mostly for the family, if I'm honest.
Yes.
And mostly for my daughter, if I'm really honest, because she doesn't know things like that. I went to India and spoke at the Women's Economic Forum.
Me too.
You too. Hey, how about that? But these things that when she's talking to her children about me, that's the kind of thing that would be interesting. Just interesting that I've written, 7 books of my own. I've helped about 90 people become published authors. Things like, oh gosh, all sorts of different things about, even my parents, saying some things about my parents and what my relationship, in the family. I was the last in a family of 5 kids, youngest, and, all of these kind of things, and what it was like growing up, what school was like back then. Not huge amounts of detail, but just that, I used to have the lunchbox with the Vegemite sandwiches, and that's not maybe so very different anyway now, but you'd sort of be, going on the bus to school. You'd go to school. It would be a pen and, paper, or
you've got a pen license
and all those kind of things that maybe I think it'll just be an interesting way for me to then be talking about, because this is just a part of my life now too.
Yes.
It's not my life.
Yes.
It's just a part of what my conditions of living are at the moment, and what I'm doing about it, and what the medical system is doing about it, and what the, potentially in some years to come, what the changes might be, and all of those kind of things. So, so it's a fairly sort of simple thing. When I talk about making a video, it'll just be something that people can watch and see that, this is a person who's just looking not so very different to them.
Yeah, that sounds wonderful.
Yes.
It absolutely, it does. I've heard of, different organizations or different workbooks on like being able to communicate with people when you're, to say, well, I don't like yogurt. And so when I forget I don't like yogurt, I don't like yogurt, right? And, sort of just to maintain that choice, right? Because, and so that you can, because we'll never know what can trigger someone to remember something. But I know that my grandfather, I would visit him every couple of weeks when he was with his Alzheimer's, and there were different things that would trigger his memory, and he didn't know that I was his granddaughter. He just knew that I was this lovely young lady who visited him with her baby and spend some time with him. And he really liked her.
Yeah.
But he didn't know that, we were family.
That's right. That's right. So it's just, yes, a record of where I fit in the puzzle of other people's lives.
Yes. And with your speaking publicly and you being an advocate for self-awareness.
That's it. Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, the more people that we have who are brave enough, courageous enough to share their experiences with others will get people to be more aware and be able to have
more
their own
aware
agency.
Yes. And more to be allowed to talk about their stuff too.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Because we I don't know. So there's an element, there's a group of people who have illness as a badge, right?
Yes,
so I don't know whether you've seen the group, the group.
Thing. Yeah.
They used to be my mum. My mum and her friends seem to have badges with all their different ailments.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be one of those, right?
Yes.
I mean,
I know exactly where you're coming from.
Even though I can't physically do everything with my grandchildren, I can get into a trampoline and then sit down on the floor. So technically I'm trampolining.
That's right.
It's just I'm sitting, right?
Yes,
but they think it's wonderful because grandma's in the trampoline.
Yeah.
But I feel like my head's sort of coming off the top if I try and jump. But, like, I don't know where I was going with that, but anyway, it is life.
Yeah.
But if there was one thing that you could share with our audience today that like is just a deep message from you about, anything.
Yeah.
What would you like to share?
What I would like to say, and well, I'll just say it firstly, is it's never too late to have a happy childhood.
Yeah.
I heard those words once, and it so means a lot to me now.
Yes.
Because for reasons I won't go into, mine wasn't a happy childhood. But it made me the person I am today.
Yes.
Again, words are interesting, aren't they? It made me the person I am today. And I am happy. I am happy and very grateful for that. So, yeah, never too late to have a happy childhood. So don't be thinking that it's all over for you if, let's say you have a diagnosis of some kind that really rattles you or whatever. Be present, be there, it's real, and look up every so often. Look up. Yeah. Don't forget to do that.
Yeah. Oh, it's so beautiful. That is just so beautiful. And you're absolutely true. We put a lot on our childhoods, and I, like you, didn't have the most glorious one. But I'm 61, nearly 62 now. And it's like, well, those first 20 years were 40 years ago. Right? So there's a point in time where it's like, I've got to let go of that childhood bit.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
It
built us.
It did. No? And we are all of us because of it.
Exactly.
And we've chosen to be even more, right? And which
Even
is
more.
glorious.
That's nice.
Yes.
Yeah, I love that.
Yes. So thank you, Jane, for today. Thank you for allowing us to talk about something that would be very easy to hide from, while also reminding us that your diagnosis is only one part of who you are. You are still you. You are still the woman who notices, the woman who listens, and you listened to something that was inside of yourself and said, pay attention. The woman who's helped so many people find the courage to put their thoughts, experience, and wisdom on a page and share it with others. And a woman who's still here, writing, working, editing, loving, laughing, and deciding what matters to you now. What I'll carry from this conversation is that our identity doesn't live in our memories alone. We are who we are every day. And if we can live in that present moment and see the beauty around us and feel the love beside us, then we can continue to be all that we are today. And it's our values that will still come through and shine, and our humour and our presence that will support us during these times where they're a little bit confused. We might be on the wrong side of the petrol station and realise that we're really only 5 steps away from where we need to be. But we have the desire and the resilience to be able to find it. So I invite the listeners to just take a moment and stop disregarding what your body's telling you. Pay attention, because you may be giving yourself the biggest gift of your life. You might be extending your greatness, your contribution, your experiences, and be open to living more fully. So, as I always say, we are only one moment away from being suddenly different. So, choose how you're going to spend this moment. Thank you, Jane. It's been amazing having you on Suddenly Different.
My pleasure, Leigh-Anne. Thank you.
This has been Suddenly Different. I'm Leigh-Anne Charland, and I'm so grateful you shared your time with me. If you felt a spark, a tear, or a moment of recognition, I hope you'll pass that gift along by sharing this show. Take a deep breath, trust your path, and I'll meet you back here soon.